There is, especially in this time, never a dull moment in the geek space. I get the sense that the powers that be sense that there is a shakeup, there is a disturbance in the force. They don't know exactly what to do with this disturbance. And some of the popular minions, some of the people that are the biggest gatekeepers, the proponents of keeping the gate exactly as it is, they are making their attempt to really keep everyone out. So the Rippaverse has launched its fan art campaign for ISOM number 2. Now, again, I have said before, I've stated I understand why and how people can have criticism of the Rippaverse. You don't have to like everything going on with this comic venture. Two things that happened in the past week, a week and a half. One, there's it's a donation campaign that Eric July has going on with another organization, and they are donating comic books to kids who are in hospitals, cancer patients, things like that. I think it's called Books for Kids or something, something to that nature. Now, if you want to donate a book, he's selling these books at a discounted price and donating the books to this organization for kids to have something to read and be excited about while they're in the hospital. It's a good effort. And he's been criticized for this effort. I find it odd. Again, I'm not saying he can't be criticized, but I'm saying the man is doing something to help children. And it seems like he's doing this at a loss. Now, I know a business is in the business of making money, and this is good publicity. I don't think Eric July is beyond publicity, but this is a good thing. That's just my opinion. So the next thing that he has going on is his fan art competition. And he's been attacked by a specific artist about this fan art competition. There's been a lot of drama going on, but I'm going to explain to you why I believe this fan art competition provides such a disturbance in the force that makes the industry nervous. This is an independent venture. So what happens if Eric July begins to discover really good artists in this fan competition, this fan art campaign? I'm going to go to the campaign and show you some of the things that you can get as a result of winning. Okay, so it says ends July 20th, 2023. So if you want to participate in his fan art campaign, I kind of, in some ways, I miss the fact that I don't draw anymore. I kind of wish I had continued with my art. Who knows where I would be right now? Anyway, you can enter up until July 20th, 2023. Enter your submissions with the form below. All submitted files must be either PNG or JPEG with sizes below 10 megabytes. Okay, so first place is $1,000 reward and a choice of $1,000 pinup cover commission or long-term interior sequential work worth up to $23,000 plus ISOM number 2. I want it all pack. That one right there is a big deal, and I'm going to explain as soon as I go over the rest of these packages. Second place is $500 reward and ISOM number 2. I want it all packed. The third place is a $300 reward and ISOM number 2. I want it all packed. And fourth place is $200 reward and the ISOM number 2. I want it all packed. Now, here is the big deal with this first one. I think so this, I'm going to tell you what I think he's looking for personally. I think Eric July is looking for good artists that would otherwise never have entered the industry, probably for several reasons, ideological reasons, and maybe just disinterested in the industry in its current form. But if he can find artists that, Marvel, DC, Image, all of the big houses will never really give the time of day, he could be into or he could be looking at a gold mine right here. I was trying to figure out how to put that. I think, and I could be wrong, I think this effort could be the beginning of something really, really huge. Bigger than Eric July maybe even realizes. Maybe he does realize it. Imagine a number of people who are magnificent artists who are waiting to be discovered, but maybe they're not interested in the industry in its current form, or maybe they just don't see longevity in the industry in its current form. Comics being on a downturn the way it is, and manga really taking over. What I think will happen is he will discover artists that are the next generation of inspiring artists. Just like in the 90s, there was the next generation of inspiring artists that anyone who grew up in the 90s, you saw, and you know how this birthed some great things in comics. Anyone who remembers the 90s, you remember the, oh, I'm trying to think of the name now. It just left my mind. As a matter of fact, I got a book over here. Hold on 1 minute. So yes, it's Milestone, the DC Milestone universe. Now, this is one of DC's new books. It's Icon and Hardware. These were heroes that were created in the 90s by Milestone Comics. Milestone Comics was a collection of black artists and creators. I think they had other people in there. I don't think it was just black, if I remember correctly, but many of the heroes were black. They were original characters. Hardware, to this day, if Hardware would have continued in the iteration it had in the 90s and just continued on with that art style, with that storyline, he would have probably been my favorite hero of all time. And it wasn't just because he was black. It was because it was good. It was original. And I was genuinely interested. It pulled me in. Now, I don't know how well this is part of the reboot of the Milestone Comics. I don't know how well it's doing. I don't know if it's doing any numbers. Couldn't really tell you. I bought the first couple issues of the reboot of Hardware. It was okay. Lackluster in the story, didn't really pull me in, but I'm willing to give it a chance. I don't judge a book just based off the first couple things I read, because sometimes the story starts slow and pulls you in. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say, what if Eric July is putting together an army of independent people just looking to make good comic books, just looking to get in on something at the ground floor? And with this fan art competition, he may just find the next generation of comic book artists that go on to inspire the next generation of comic book artists. And for that reason, what's the dude's name? I think his name is Mark Brooks. He's had some things to say about Eric July, about him running this campaign for whatever reason. I don't really understand or know exactly what issue he has with him. I know he had an issue with Gabe El-Taib in the last and ISOM number 1. Gabe El-Taib was the colorist. Mark Brooks had an issue with him. Gabe El-Taib tried to, find him to talk to him at San Diego Comic-Con. He wasn't there. If you've been following Rippaverse, you know how all that played out. No big deal. It's just a bunch of internet drama back and forth. And I think the pushback Eric is getting from people like Mark Brooks, I think, now I don't know Mark Brooks, and this is not to slight him, definitely not my goal or my purpose. I think it's a possibility that it may be a slight bit of envy. It may be a slight bit of jealousy to some degree, because as an artist, you have to understand what this does. It's a comic book that everyone is excited about right now. Or I say everyone, a lot of people. I use that term all the time. A lot of people are excited about it's making noise. And now, if new artists come along and these artists are good and they can draw you in with their images, this is magnificent. I legitimately understand and see the excitement based around this. And I can see the issue that some people take with it, because this might this might remove certain people from seats of power. I'm not saying Marvel and DC are going to go away. I've already went over that before. But this might be the catalyst for, let's say, at a bare minimum, this might be the catalyst for adding another staple, another pillar in those big names in comics. I would say the biggest name in comics right now, American comic books, would be IDW, DC, Marvel, and Image. There's some other ones, Dark Horse, they're pretty good as well. But I think maybe those, maybe I can switch a few of those, but I think those are the big content houses as far as comic books in the United States. And if with this effort, at some point, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be overnight, and I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but if he becomes a staple based off the people, that puts pressure on the rest of the industry. Because look, the industry, I can acknowledge that the industry has been operating on fumes. I'm talking about the comic book industry for probably the past 15 years, probably longer than that. They've been operating off of past excitement. Only that past excitement is no longer driving sales. People are moving on. And you can see that in the different industries and the different things people are moving on to, the different things people are beginning to buy as far as graphic novels and sci-fi and geek culture is concerned. The transition from comic books, from traditional American comic books, started a long time ago, and it's not shown any signs of slowing down. But this right here is a spark. And for whatever reason, it seems like the industry at large is fighting against that spark.